I'm ready.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry Podcast, episode number 41 today. 41, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Make sure I got that right.
Eli was 40.
Yeah, and that was the last one. You know what? It's just been, for me, I'm sure that you have reflected on it a lot as well, but I've reflected on the episode with Eli quite a bit since then. And, I mean, had so many guys come up and say how much they appreciated that episode, how cool it was at that episode. This morning, whenever I was getting in here, one of the guys, Jake, was walking outside, and he was like, dude, I'm almost through the episode with Eli. I'm at the part right now where he's talking about pretty much everything that we're talking about in men's group. He said, I'm listening to it. I'm like, is this guy reading the same book that we're going through on Men's Mondays? And I'm like, this is just, it's so cool that the guys are listening to it and getting to experience exactly what we experienced that episode, because there's no coincidence. God makes no mistakes. And here we have somebody from a different state, different walk, different group of guys, but in the same vein, meaning he's walking the walk.
Yeah.
And God obviously led us to the same moment on the same path. And it was incredible to have that conversation with Eli, the last episode. What an awesome conversation.
Yeah, he's a very dear friend, and he's a guy that is what you see is what you get for sure. Unapologetic, fearless, just bravery up on the hill. People don't realize how much happens behind the scenes in DC, and it is a lot. And I can tell you, this guy is the real deal through and through. So, very, very grateful that our friendship developed many years ago, and it has grown to what it is now. I've had the opportunity to do some executive protection on some pretty notable people, fairly notable. First one being Tiger Woods, all the way back in it was when his first Masters, so I think it was 97, 98. Anyway, out of all the people I've met, had great conversations, they all have really cool stories. Everybody has cool stories. Somebody that's gone from here to here, especially when they've achieved it, like a Tiger Woods. I mean, like his dad started coaching him at like 3 or something. It was nuts. Earl was a very nice man, rode with him all day long, protected Tiger, had great conversations with him, got to strike some golf balls with him. It was fun. But out of all the notable names of the people I've been able to hang with or watch over for a day or two on an event, Eli far and exceeds it, because he's the most down-to-earth, honest, integrity dude that I've ever known that has achieved what he's achieved. But he did it. He and his wife did it on their own. I mean, he bootstrapped it. He shared that when he was here. 9/11, he didn't say it, but not when 9/11 happened, he actually signed up right after 9/11. Like when the towers went down, he went to the Navy. So he just kind of started off as I wanted to be a SEAL, but he didn't share the backstory of how he got there, but it was pretty cool. Went in, failed out of buds, came back, made it. Multiple tours, served under Chris Kyle, pretty legendary dude there. That was his CEO essentially. And just great story in entrepreneurship, and he's really succeeded. So yeah, it was amazing to have a man, of that caliber and that level of success, who's now representing our country, serving yet for his second time in a different way. Just coming in a ball cap and jeans, because that's Eli. And that, I think that's relatable to dudes. I think people need to know that he's just a guy, loves his wife, loves his kids, wants to fight for his country, but puts Jesus first in all he does.
That's amazing.
It is. It's incredible. Incredible dude.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't listened to that episode and you're tuning in now for the first time, go back, listen to episode 40. Highly recommend that. But for today's episode, we're going to get into a little bit of the EDC that we haven't talked much about on podcast yet, and this is going to be a little bit more Micah's wheelhouse, but we are going to be talking about the more medical first aid side of the daily carry. So first off, let me give a shout out to Matt. Matt's been listening to the podcast. He's a fan, and he's been talking to me every so often that he gets a chance, and he actually provided this guy for us on set. Ooh, almost spilled the peppermint tea, but here we have this bayonet M9. And Matt, thanks for letting us have this on set. This is pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Pretty cool. And from what I understand, the last iteration of a bayonet that we'll see in the U.S. military.
Is that right?
Right here, the M9 bayonet, which is pretty cool. And this sucker's sharp. He has it sharpened very, very nicely.
That is very cool.
Matt, thanks for supporting the show, sir. And the conversations that we've had have been awesome. And thanks for also working on me and encouraging us to have this episode with the first aid and the safety, because this is also something that he has asked for and asked if that's going to be something that happens. And I've told him, absolutely. You know, Micah's background, right? Like we'll talk about that for sure. But here we are, and man, I brought one bag. Okay, and let me clarify. The bag that I brought, this trauma bag, was gifted to me by Micah. So this is not something that I went out and bought myself, because I wouldn't have even really known what to buy. But this might be a pretty good starting point, right? Because you gifted this to a few of the guys, and you chose this one, right? From what I understand.
Yeah, so I keep this as a...
Here, you take it. You take it and you explain it.
Well, the bag itself, it's not so much the bag. This is not something that this would be like a truck bag for me. This is something because it's flat, it sits flat. I can keep it in if I roll up on a scene, and, you know, depending on what it is. The one thing that I would tell anybody, a stop the bleed course, go through one. I mean, if you really want to understand what to carry in your EDC, it's 98% stop the bleed. That's the most baseline, all the way up to the graduated scale of things you're going to deal with. You're not going to be pushing first line cardiac drugs. You're not going to be doing, I mean, unless you're a medic, and you got stuff that you carry on your kit, and that's something that you have personally, you have to deal with. So like you got somebody who's diabetic in your family or whatnot, you're going to carry that type of stuff, but you're used to dealing with that. I always, when anybody says, what do you carry? I'm like, at a bare minimum, tourniquet, pressure bandages, something's going to soak up a lot of blood, and something to wrap it up with. That'll get you out of trouble and usually get you back into, you know, civilian society if you're out like on a backcountry trail, ATV and hiking, that kind of thing.
I'm assuming that bag has what you just described, right?
Well, this bag is, I mean, I gave this bag to you empty, so this bag is for you to fill. Not you haven't even opened it yet.
Look at that. I've had that in my truck, and I'm like, man, I'm ready.
He's going to get out, and he's going to grab a bag and put pressure in the bag. I left you one little roll that came with the bag itself. So I bought 5 of these for everybody.
Okay, this is a good thing we did this, okay? Because I just had that bag. I was like, man, I guess I got a nice, cool little first aid bag.
You got a cool
bag. So I have to fill that bag.
You got to fill the bag.
And so tell me where I start.
That's what I brought today. Okay. So your truck bag. And but the reason I like this bag is I leave one of these physically in my vehicle. In my truck back seat, it slides right underneath it. It's perfect. It's just
makes sense.
Low enough. And that's why I like this bag. It's reflective. I mean, you can see it at night and, you know, whatnot, but it's streamlined and it's dark. Sit up underneath there. It hides well. It's got good compartments. You know, there's nothing fancy about it. It's a bag. It's something that if you roll up on a scene, it's something you can pull out and save a life. That's really what it's about. But it makes the contents of what's in there. So
yeah, that's what we need to get into. Yeah. I genuinely thought that this was like a kit bag. Whenever you gave it to me, I thought that it was like already had some stuff in it, and like it was pretty much bare essentials ready to go. I haven't even opened it to look in there.
Hey man, thanks for the bag. That was awesome. No, it really is. It comes down to your personal preference, because I know dudes, you know, in the TAC medic world, anybody that is served overseas, it is all about stop the bleed. And they're going to carry a little bit more. They're going to be carrying first line drugs. They're going to be carrying saline packs and IVs and stuff like that. You're not doing that on your person unless you're trained to do it. Cool. If you are, go get training. But I just tell people, go do a baseline stop the bleed class. Learn how to put on a tourniquet, learn how to apply it, learn where it goes, learn, you know, venous versus arterial blood flow. What does that mean? How do I treat it? Understand that you roll up and something has happened in front of you and there's just tremendous trauma, a lot of blood is hard to work with. Blood is super slippery. It's very, very hard to scene manage somebody who's bleeding. A lot of people freak out when they're bleeding. A lot of other people see blood and they freak out. But there's also a counter to that, and there's a lot of folks that just don't understand blood spreads very, very rapidly. And one of the things that I tell folks, anytime that we're doing a stop the bleed class, I'll bring a little 10 cc deal. Something you get your blood drawn in. You ever seen a little vial?
Yeah.
Go give it, you know, at the doctor's office. I mean, that little glass tube, that tiny little glass tube, if you bust that open and you smear it, you'll cover your whole face in it. And it looks like this horrible traumatic situation. It's very few drops of blood. It's not a lot. There's a big difference between venous and arterial. And so one of the things that we say is stop the bleed class, because once you get into one, you will realize quickly how well you can control blood flow through pressure, through dressings, through wraps, through tourniquets, et cetera, et cetera. Big difference is if you don't know, venous, the simplest way to tell is arterial blood. We'll do rated R for reality today. Arterial blood is going to squirt. If you walk up and you have anything cut in the inside of your forearm or your femoral artery, you're going to see blood shooting feet. It's not going to be flowing. It's going to be squirting, a serious artery. And you've got 60, 90 seconds on the high side, on the femoral, with pressure to get a tourniquet on. There's no dialing 911. So that's why it's important to have a kit. If you're in the backcountry, you're hiking, you got a blade on you, something happens, you fall, you trip, accidents happen, you cut yourself, animal comes around the corner, gets a hold of you. I mean, it's just a lot of things that can happen. Just the ability to get a tourniquet on yourself. You can live forever. You get a tourniquet on. You could die quickly if you don't. That's just the rated R reality part of this. So the reason I brought 3 different bags today, so I got a medic bag that I train with. But when I go into the backcountry, if I'm ATVing, you and I have gone out before, if I know that I'm going to be out in the backcountry all day, I take something with me. And whatever I'm taking with me is the thing that's going to treat me. So I want to make sure that I got a bottle of water, as simple as that sounds, in the bag. Stop the bleed stuff, comms, ability, just anything and everything that you could think of in your mind that you could pack in something this size. And then I also carry something with the ability to defend myself if I'm out there and I'm injured. So EDC, backcountry, something on your person, be able to defend. So the thing that I take with me, that I put in my kit, very first thing, I keep a gun. Now this one has a can on it, but I keep that inside my medic kit, if you will. Doesn't do any good to bleed out in the backcountry and not be able to defend yourself if you're trying to get out of there. Blood, you're a hunter, draws in animals. It's kind of like swimming in the ocean with a cut, shark circles. So it's one of those things that you want to keep contained. You want to get out of the backcountry as soon as possible. So so getting into the kit just real quick, this little stuff right here is invaluable. You get a bad cut, get pressure on it, get bandages on it, start wrapping, get more bandages on it, and keep wrapping. I'll carry 2 or 3 rolls of this stuff. I've run across 2 arterial bleeds on people that I rolled up on in a car.
What's that called? It's like the self-adhesive, stretchy stuff that they put on you after they draw your blood. I don't know what it's called though.
There's a couple different names for it. I actually get this, believe it or not, I actually get this from the horse community. The equine community sells this stuff. You can get it on Amazon in big bulk packages. But it's sports tape. That's all it really is. Athletes use it all the time. But I get it from the equine community because I find their stuff they use is stickier. So it stays a little bit better and waterproof. But I carry several rolls of that. And then here is just a standard Israeli bandage.
I don't know what that is.
So you pack a wound, you pull this thing apart, insert it. So if you look at it, you can see the instructions right on.
All right.
Right
instructions. Oh, I see. This is like, so this is like a roll bandage that wraps around a wound.
You can go around it. You can put it in. It depends on the wound. It is going to soak considerable amounts of blood up as opposed to something like a standard rolled gauze.
So a trauma bandage, 6-inch.
Yeah.
6-inch trauma bandage.
The thing I like about them is they're sealed, vacuum sealed, waterproof. I carry a minimum of 4 in every bag. They're easy to slide in. You're definitely going to get a lot of pressure control if you got this thing taped down well. But the key is it really, a lot of gauze, this kind of thing. If I got a femoral or an AC cut here, I get this pressure on. I can tell you this. So the reason I brought this big old roll, if we unwrap this thing, it'd go all the way across the gym. This thing's like 60 feet. If I just set this thing in here and get pressure on the AC, I can tell you by the time I get another one on there, this thing's going to be blood soaked. If I have an arterial flow, and it's going to be blood soaked in just a few seconds.
Wow.
That's how much blood is going to be pushing through your body. So you need multiple. And what you're going to do is you're going to stack one on top of another. You're not putting one on and when it gets soaked, pull it off, that type of thing. You're going to keep constant pressure on it until you can get that tourniquet on. But this is something as simple as you can hold it in place. You can slide the tourniquet on, get it strapped down. So
makes sense.
I really do believe I carry an extra knife so I can cut things as needed as I'm using this. But what the biggest thing that I tell people when if you're going to do a stop the bleed class, is it's really about attitude and mindset going out in situational awareness. And the biggest thing is just staying calm. You see blood, a lot of people, as I said a minute ago, they're going to react. And I would caution people. I would say, hey, slow down. First thing to do is breathe, look at what you got, determine whether you got an arterial flow or a venous flow. There's a big difference between a really big cut here and a little tiny cut here. A really big cut here is going to bleed and you're going to go get stitches. A really tiny cut here that goes through your artery, you can die from. And so know the difference. One here, it's going to squirt. The other one's just going to flow. You want to get pressure on this one. And that's kind of what these wraps are for. Just wrap, get some pressure on the cut, wrap again. You're going to be fine. You could walk miles and miles and never have an issue. You might get a little lightheaded, and that's what the water's for. Keep a little sugar in there with you in your pack. But it's really about stopping the bleed. It's about getting it under control, breathing through it and looking at it and just going, okay, this situation requires X. Here's what I'm going to need to do, and here's how I'm going to do it. And that's why the class is important. We do a lot of stop the bleed classes, and I will tell you, out of all the classes we do, stop the bleed is probably the most popular one because anybody can do it, and most people coming into it don't realize how simple it is. They just get afraid of it because they see blood. So I showed you that little portion of the kit, and that's my backcountry kit. That's what I'm going to throw on my back when I'm riding my ATV, and I'm going to take that with me. All my kits are essentially set up the same. So all my pouches are going to be the same. So I tell anybody that's got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 bags, if you're just rotating guns inside here, but you've got medical equipment, whatnot, set it up the same, practice with it, pull it out, use it periodically so you know where it's at. The worst thing that you can do is in a scene is panic and go to start pull something out and things just go flying and it goes everywhere. And as simple as it sounds, it happens. So every one of my kits are always going to have the exact same placement in every single pocket all the way through. So when I go into the inside pocket, I'm going to have tons of these little boo-boo kits, I call them. These are the kind of things you're going to get hiking. You're going to go out, you're going to cut yourself on a branch, you're going to do something. I'm not going to go into a trauma kit when I can just pull out a little package, do some antiseptic wipe. As simple as this thing is, I bet I've used these things 50 times with our kids when we've gone out and we've gone camping. Somebody's always doing something.
Yeah.
And then you're looking for that thing that you don't have, that you need. But this kit right here, again, I'm going right back to it. This is where my gun sits. And as I go for pressure dressings all the way up to wraps. I also keep tourniquets in every kit, and the tourniquet is always on the outside, so it's accessible. So I'm not having to dig through the kit.
Makes sense.
The tourniquets in this one, and this is a brand new one, by the way. We just did a class the other day. So anytime that you're doing a tourniquet, and you can see this is why I brought a brand new one, because I wanted to show how difficult this is. If you're imagine sitting out in the woods and you're like, oh, I got a tourniquet, and I put it in my kit, brand new, got my tourniquet, I'm good to go. And you get out there and that thing happens and you're sitting here doing this, trying to get it apart. This stuff is on a good tourniquet, like a good Cat 3. It is tight, the Velcro is strong, and you're going to be sitting here bumbling with this thing. So that took me just bumbling with it 35, 40 seconds. That's valuable time if you got an arterial bleed.
Yeah.
You're bleeding out, bad juju. You're sitting here trying to concentrate on something. Your fine motor skills are going down. You're starting to lose focus. You're starting to vago out. A lot of bad juju there. So I always say keep these things preloaded. preset to where when you just pull it out, it just opens up, and you just throw it on your arm, and it just tightens down. And you can literally just wrap it around, and then you got your windlass. And again, because this is brand new, the windlass is in here. If I preset it, I'm going to keep the windlass open. You're just getting it on, strapping it down, and then you start twisting it. And you're going to twist it until the blood stops squirting or until there's heavy flow that is controlled. You drop your windlass back into the little holder, put your Velcro strap over it. I'm about 3.5, 4 inches above the elbow, right on the arterial flow, and that's going to suppress the blood flow. It's not going to stop it completely. It might dribble out. Who cares? It's fine. It's keeping the squirting from happening. That's what you're really looking for. So I threw a lot at you fast, but the baseline of all of this is this tool right here, this piece of Velcro with this windlass on here, is a lifesaver. This is the thing that's going to get you out of the woods. This is the thing that's going to save somebody in a car crash. This is the kind of thing that if you cut yourself in a house accidentally, cooking, you're just doing vegetables, man, and all of a sudden you turn, kid gets you into distraction. Next thing you know, you accidentally hit your arm, you're off to the races. Pressure is important. If I'm in a kitchen, I'm grabbing a towel as fast as I can. I want to get it on there, and I want to get as much weight on it as I can, as much pressure as I can. But I'm looking for a tourniquet at that point in time. You don't have a tourniquet in your kitchen, you need one in your kitchen. It should be hanging inside your pantry door or someplace accessible to you to where you know it's going to be, because you can't hold enough pressure long enough.
Yeah.
On your own. So I threw a ton at you. We're kind of doing it in a Q&A format. So question.
Yeah, you did throw a lot, but being that this is a daily carry, kind of just an extension of that, and getting into the first aid medical side, what would you say? So I know that it sounds like that this is about the order of operations here. Tourniquet, right? And then we've got our medical tape, and then we've got gauze.
Pressure dressing. Yep.
Pressure dressing.
Yep.
And then would you say that a wound like that, are you looking to try to hit it with some kind of an antiseptic or antibiotic at all at any point? No?
No.
Not even worried about anything like that?
Not worried about it. Time is of the essence on a bleed, on an arterial bleed. So you couldn't douse it with enough antiseptic. Plus, it's free flowing anyway, so it's going to stay pretty clean. The downfall is you're flowing clean blood out of your body. So you got to get stopped. That's way more important than, I'd pack dirt in it, to be honest with you. If I had an open wound and I didn't have anything on me other than maybe the shirt I was wearing, I'd put some dirt in it and wrap my T-shirt around it.
Makes sense.
We can clean it later and we can put you on antibiotics, but it's, on a venous flow,
right? That's
what I would do. On an arterial flow, you're not going to do anything unless you have a wrap. You got to have something, be it a belt, be it a tourniquet. I read a story in a survival guidebook once where a guy said I don't know how true it is. It's his story, but he said he should save somebody with a bungee cord, an arterial on a femoral. It was the only thing he could think of. They were offloading a snowmobile, and the spike on the track on one of these big 130-inch tracks ripped open. The guy was riding, and it ripped open his femoral. They tore his leg up, and all they had was a bungee cord that they had. I think it was a beer cooler of all things they had on the back of the ATV or the snowmobile. And the guy wrapped the bungee cord around and stood on the guy's femoral and pulled the bungee cord up until the blood stopped. But imagine trying to stand there and hold that, when you need to get somebody and you're in the back country and, they had to helo the guy out, but he ended up living. So the story goes is the bungee cord saved his life. So anything you get wrapped with pressure, but to me, this is the simplest thing to do. One, Velcro's, pretty amazing. It's hard to bust. It's hard to break one of these things. And you still got the Velcro, even if you broke the strap. So
I've been in one of your classes with the tourniquets, and I know it wasn't like a full stop the bleed class, but I've been there, and yes, those are very, very easy to use and easy to put on, easy to take off, you know? So those are definitely, seems like that would be the choice move, is whatever that is. Do you know what brand it is?
I use Cat 3s. There's a lot of brands out there. I would say get something that is, a lot of these have like aluminum inside the windlass. You don't want something that's going to snap or break on you. There's some cheap knockoffs out there. So, invest $30. A great tourniquet on the high end is $30. I get these in bulk, 22 $2 a piece, something like that I teach classes for. And then I just give them out to the students when we're done. But anything's better than nothing, but what's $30 to save in your life? And that's kind of one of those things that is just a foregone conclusion that you're going to buy 10 of them.
Yeah.
So, spend $300, put one in each vehicle, put one in your pantry at your house, put a couple in a hiking bag, a purse, a go bag, whatever it is that you carry on your person, whether you're a businessman, you're a banker and you're carrying a briefcase, keep one in your briefcase. You just never know where you're going to need it. One of the craziest bleeds I've ever seen in my life. I was playing hockey. This is probably 20 years ago. Went into the boards. Two dudes went into the boards, and glass sometimes shatters. Mm-hmm. They go into the boards, and the guy went in and went to protect himself by throwing his arm up while the other guy took him in the boards. And dude, it full on right through his artery.
Yikes.
And we immediately got pressure on it. Fortunately, there was a fire department next door. This was over in Arapahoe County. There's a fire department literally right next door to the Family Sports Center. But he would have bled out had we not had a couple medics that were there that knew what to do. We had one guy took his jersey off, wrapped it, got pressure on it, and I came over and I actually just put my knee on top of his forearm for pressure, and then the fire department got over there. But we didn't have a tourniquet, obviously, at the rink. We didn't have one, on the bench. But it was cool because, he survived, got a lot of stitches out of it. But it's just one of those fluke things. And I've been playing hockey my whole life. I've seen a lot of guys go through the glass. But it's the only one I've ever seen get cut at that level. And it was fast. I mean, it was like really fast. So, anything that you can get pressure on and get it wrapped on an arterial flow, that's key. That's how you're going to save somebody's life or your own.
Stop the bleed. That's what I'm getting, obviously, for a life-threatening injury. So then those little boo-boo kits, as you call them, that's where you said that you've got the antiseptic. So you're looking at like smaller injuries. You're going to treat them more in that vein with, some antiseptics and throw your bandage on or whatever. Yeah. And then pat them on the back and give them some milk and
keep moving. Yeah. It's, we use them. We do a lot of backcountry stuff with the kids, and just inevitably, you go trail riding, you come around the corner, you catch a branch on the forehead or something, you get a little boo-boo cut. That's what that kind of stuff is for. Clean up with some antiseptic. You're going to be out there for 2 or 3 days with your family. You don't need it to get infected, but on a serious bleed, you don't have to worry about that stuff. All you're trying to do is get medical attention.
Of course.
Yeah, you got to get the blood stopped. So repack if you have to, but you just keep going over the top. I mean, you could make your packing that big around the arm because the arterial is just going to keep flowing out. If you don't have a tourniquet, the blood's just going to keep expanding through it. It's kind of like a leak on a pipe, and you're trying to put duct tape on the pipe, if you've ever done that before. But the pipe is under full pressure, and the water just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. No matter how much tape you put on it, it just keeps going. You kind of have to think of blood that way. Your body is just constantly pumping every second and a quarter, second and a half. That blood is coming through. And there is an inordinate amount of pressure on a really bad arterial cut. I mean, blood will shoot. I hate to say it, but it'll go 8-10 feet. Yeah. Like, you'll really know if you got a bad arterial cut, which means the clock is on.
Yeah.
Right now. And that's why I say you want to, probably the most important thing outside of getting the blood flow slowed or stopped to the best of your ability, truly is critical thinking skills. You've got to take a breath, and you got to look around. You got to go, okay, this thing's happening right now. How do I treat it? And taking that 3 seconds is not going to, the blood loss isn't going to impact anything other than you're going to make the right decision. Don't worry about 3 to 5 seconds. It's that 3 to 5 seconds of breathing and critical thinking of what you're going to do next, and just be very methodical is what I tell people. If you're treating a wound, that's just a bad cut, no big deal. But if it's arterial, this is happening, and as this is happening, your vision's going to start coming in, and you're going to start getting lightheaded, and then you could pass out, and then all hope is lost if you're on your own or if you're treating somebody. So you got to be. You got to realize, this is bad juju, man. This is I gotta deal with this. So
makes sense. That makes perfect sense, because it's the thing that I teach all the way from 3-year-olds all the way up to adults is if you can't breathe, you can't fight. It's the same thing in jiu-jitsu, same thing in fighting. If it all starts and stops there. If you are getting choked, you got to protect your neck. Right. So it makes the same sense here. If you're bleeding, obviously you pass out, it's over. So stopping the bleed, make sure that you're hanging on to consciousness, and I think that there's even a lot of wisdom in what you said, just carrying a water bottle, maybe a little pack of electrolytes or whatever, and make sure that you're feeding yourself if you're in that situation. and you are trying to hang on to your life and get to medical help, then every second counts. So being ready is important.
Dude, so your jiu-jitsu analogy is spot on, because, I've been choked enough to know that when you start going out, right, like you got to get that chin tucked, you got to get turned, you got to protect that airway. Well, this is you're protecting the whole response system, because you got a sympathetic parasympathetic system in your body. If nobody knows what that is, you've never heard it. One is essentially is put your hand up on a wall, grab a hammer, and say, I'm going to hit my thumb with this hammer. And one system says, yeah, don't do that. That's bad juju. And you go, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. And then you do it. Well, your other system kicks in and it sends blood flow to the trauma. So it sends blood there. A lot of people think that, they say, well, I see blood, I pass out. People see blood, they freak out. But people don't pass out because they see blood. It's because their system kicks into gear, essentially. And they're having an automatic response to something they're seeing. Well, then their body then kicks in and starts adjusting blood flow in their body. And that's why they go down. It happens all the time with cuts, because you see it and it's sending blood away from everything else in your body to where the trauma is. So in this case, if I hit my thumb with a hammer, it's going to send a lot of blood to my thumb. Well, my thumb doesn't need a lot of blood. My body needs a lot of blood. But if all the blood starts rushing in one direction, well, that's all of a sudden when you go down. And you'll pass out. Now, you'll come back, obviously. You're going to pass out for a couple minutes, and the blood will, because once you pass out, then that system kicks back in response to you passing out. So that's the beauty of God's design in your body is your body has a compensatory system that is always firing all the time. You go to trip, you catch a rock, going down a stair or something, you have a reaction. You feel half a second after you have that reaction, you kind of have like this whoa moment, like you felt a little lightheaded, you felt like maybe a little vertigo kicked in, just anything like that. That's your body reacting to that thing that just happened. It's not that you tripped and you're off balance as much as it is you tripped and your body immediately just reacts to that thing. It when we see gunshots in our world, you see a guy get hit maybe 2, 3, 4 times, and you don't see him react. Well, his body's reacting inside, and what it's doing is just pumping everything very, very fast, and all of a sudden his adrenaline goes up. Everything just kind of kicks in. Fine motor skills will start to change quickly, but unless you take a fatal shot to the heart, very seldom do you see somebody just immediately drop in a gunshot. It's not Hollywood is, they pull the trigger and the guy goes down and he's dead all of a sudden. That's not how it works. You lay there and wallow in pain if you got a belly shot, and you may lay there for days while sepsis creeps in. I mean, there's just so much craziness that we see in the movies. In real life, arterial bleed, just know that you've got under 2 minutes depending on the bleed, and in some cases you might have 60 seconds if it's a bad femoral, which means you got to get this thing out, you got to get it open, you got to get it up on your own leg or on somebody else's leg if you're treating them, high up above the cut, and in a femoral case, way up into the groin area if you can, and you're going to ratchet that thing down, and they're going to be screaming in pain, and you keep turning that thing until the blood flow slows or stops. And they're going to be fighting you with everything they got. Don't do that. Don't do that. And trust me, you want to do it. That's the only way that they're going to survive. If it's up here in the arm, a little bit different, but you still got to get the pressure on. You got to get this thing cranked down. You got to get the blood flow stopped.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, that sounds like pretty much if everything was summed up, carry a tourniquet.
Yeah. Carry a tourniquet. Again, gauze rolls are invaluable. I've probably got 50 in a bag, because you can't pack enough. If you get a really bad belly cut, a bad belly, you can't pack enough in it. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how much you're going to go through. When we were working in the ER, even as just going through my clinicals as a medic, I've got these visuals of all these cases coming through the door, and you're trying to stuff, and you're opening up rolls by the dozens. And I mean by the dozens. You're just packing and packing and packing and packing and packing. You think, where's all this going? And it's amazing what it soaks up. It really is. So stop the bleed far and away. I encourage every family. Once you get above about age 12, 13, if you got kids, put them through a stop the bleed class. Go as a family. It's a 2-3 hour class. You will learn so much. in such a short period of time. And you think, oh, I'll just dial 911. I don't need to know. You won't. Not an arterial bleed. You got no hope if you don't have something on you to treat yourself or treat somebody else.
Well, that leads us to, because you were just talking about the belly injuries. I mean, well, you can't put a tourniquet on your belly.
Nope.
You can't put a tourniquet on your neck.
Nope.
So at that point, we're talking about packing and pressure, right?
Packing and pressure.
Packing and pressure.
Packing,
Just
pressure.
Pack. And then
dial 911, hope that the ambulance is nearby, or if you got to exfil and transport them yourself, throw them in the back seat and go. A bad belly bleed is just as bad as an arterial bleed because it's going in and out at the same time, and you can't really gauge it. So, and here's the thing. Gunshots, you got to get them to a hospital. I mean, you're packing a hole, but that's not so much about blood loss as the damage is what's been done inside. That's way more important. They could be developing some pretty bad juju going on inside their body. A stab wound, even inadvertent, worst case stab I've ever seen in my entire life was a rancher. He was out on his back property at 5,000 acres. This was out in Elbert County, 2003. We medevaced him out. He barely made it. Thank goodness he had a cell phone on him, but he was out just tightening wire on a fence, and he got up on the horse. The horse bucked. He came off and came down on a T-post.
Ooh.
You know what a T-post is?
Yes.
Came down on a metal T-post. So it punctured, went through all ribs, through his lung, came out the front. He's laying on a fence on his back with a metal post sticking out. Dials 911 and had the wherewithal to start with what he could do. He had ended up removing his own jeans, believe it or not. Imagine what this is like, laying on a fence on your back, dangling over the top of the fence, and every movement you're making, you got a post sticking out your body, but he knew he was bleeding. He had a knife, and he was able to reach down and remove part of his jeans with his knife and start sticking that stuff in. And I was running investigations out there at the time, and I just happened to be on a case about 4 miles away. They called me, pulled me off the case, and I drove over and found the guy on his property. And it took me like 15 minutes to find him on the property. He was way back there, and horse standing right by him. Thank goodness that was the symbol. That's what I saw was the horse, and we medevaced him out. He made it, but dude, they had to cut the post because it was so far down in the ground. The fire department came back and jaws of life and cut the post, and we flew him out. He made it.
Man.
So the point is, you never know. You don't know what you're going to need and when you're going to need it. In that case, a tourniquet wouldn't have done any good, right? Mm-hmm. Good to have on you, but wouldn't have done any good in that case.
Yeah, needed an angle grinder.
Yeah, you need an angle grinder. What saved his life was his attitude, was his mindset. I mean, it wasn't that he cut jeans and he was sticking. I mean, that probably did very little to stop any kind of bleed, but that's what he was in his frame of mind. Now, the good news is this was in the summer. If this had been in the winter, he would have died. He'd have died of hypothermia for sure. But he made it, and what a testament of his fortitude. Because I'm talking pain, dude, on a level you can't begin to describe. Can't even begin to describe how much pain he was in when I pulled up, and yet he's just looking at me. He was calm, but he's like, dude, on a level of 10, it's a 2,000. I mean, like, I'll never forget him saying that. He's like, I'm dying. And he knew he was dying. And so he was just, okay, we're going to stay calm together, man. You've been good. Yeah, so we're going to get you out of here. And medics, the chopper and the nurses did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank goodness for the fire department and a 4x4 truck with jaws of life getting back there.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. So anytime I share any of these stories, it's all reflection back on things that in every medic's got 1,000 stories, especially guys that served over in the box overseas, TAC medics.
Yeah.
You're just in a very different world. You got very little time. You got to treat it. Well, that's no different than standing in your kitchen if you go into panic mode because you accidentally slit your wrist cutting vegetables. And, you're sitting here going, now what do I do? Well, I'm going to dial 911. No, you got to get pressure on it, and you got to get something to stop the bleed.
Man.
Yeah. I would say out of any class that we teach, that's the one that I put the most emphasis on. Because it's the single most important thing. If you're injured, you got to get it stopped.
Well, I don't have the stop the bleed stories like you do. Thankfully, any of the first aid I've ever had to administer was just Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Band-Aids, maybe a little bit of tape. But haven't ever really encountered anything serious. The ones that would be more serious that I've encountered in jiu-jitsu would be like just, joints or bones that have, broken or sprains.
Yeah.
Those would be the more serious ones. The cuts and the scabs and those kinds of things, just like the mat burn, that's nothing serious. The bleeds that I've seen are not serious. But an example that I thought of whenever you're talking about stabbing is the worst injury that one of the worst that I've seen. A couple of years ago, I met a guy, and he had been in a fight. He was at a bar, and he was in a bar fight, and this guy pulled a razor blade on him and slashed his face.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a stab. It was a slice.
Right.
But he's got the gashes in his head still, and it's like, dude, and it's like going like from his head like down his neck, like it was a huge slice. Like, but I bring that up to say, yes, we want to be prepared, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for not having to need that stuff. In this example, right? I mean, the guy on his horse, how are you going to know that your horse is going to buck you off? You know, things happen. Accidents happen.
Yeah, 30-year rancher, by the way. Had never been off his horse.
Yeah, it wasn't his first rodeo.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing, and sometimes things just go wrong. But in a lot of these situations where there is this potentially life-threatening injury, especially whenever it comes to fights, man, so many of those are avoidable.
Yeah.
So many. Like, as soon as this guy's telling me he was in a bar fight, it's like, okay, well, that's immediately right there avoidable.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to be in threat of your life, you don't want to have any life-threatening injury, you shouldn't be hanging out in a bar. If you're hanging out in a bar, you shouldn't be looking for a fight.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now that the friends that I have that look for fights and go to bars, they find fights.
They find them, yeah. Nobody wins a bar fight, by the way.
No.
And in the
That's
cop world,
stupid.
we don't even actually consider them good witnesses. Like, we just go in and go, okay, everybody, come on out, let's go. Yeah, we're not taking sides tonight, because alcohol is always the mediator. So it's just, you just kind of rule it out. But yeah,
it's what we tell the kids. It's what we tell the adults. The only fight that nobody loses is the fight that doesn't happen. Should always be looking to de-escalate. Should always be looking and being aware of your surroundings. I mean, there's people that there's evil in this world, no doubt. We have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to be prepared.
Yeah.
But we also have to be, there's a certain level of accountability that we need to walk around with, that we know it is on us to make sure that we are walking around and observing our surroundings.
Yep.
And being in tune with it, not just totally distracted and unplugged. You know, we got to be responsible for looking out for ourselves and also looking out for those around us, you know.
So I just want to touch back on something real quick. So I set them all up the same. So this is my range medic bag, if you will. Lots of tourniquets in here. Never know if you're, and I hate to say this, you just never know. Having Eli here the other day, and what happened with Chris Kyle out there taking, a dude out, suffered whatever he had suffered. Chris Kyle's working with him, and the guy shoots and kills him, right? This is the most prolific sniper in American history. You're helping somebody. Well, bad stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
And on the range, there's no more dangerous place, in my opinion, than you have somebody that could potentially go rogue. So I bet I've got a dozen tourniquets in here, and enough stop the bleed, serious stop the bleed stuff in here that I could probably treat 4 or 5 people if somebody decided to do something stupid. And that is one of those things I hate thinking about, but the reality of it is just, you just never know in today's world. Well, take that over, and you're in security in your church or whatever, and somebody comes in, and we've seen all of these shootings, right? Mass shootings in schools, active killers come in. You do not have, there's not a school in America, unless they've been through it or unless they got a really good director of security, that has enough stop the bleed stuff to treat 5 kids. I've done, I can't tell you how many schools I've been into, how many churches I've been into that I've trained or we've done assessments on or evaluations. And I say, show me your medic kits. Show me your stop the bleed kits. Show me your AED. Show me all of these things. Half the time they can't find them. Half the time they're empty, because what people will do, and the reason I open this bag, the reason I have those little boo-boo kits in mine is that's what I give my daughter, right? Like, hey, this is for your finger. This is for your, got a little scrape on your wrist. The reason I don't bust this open is because these things go missing. And then they go missing, and they go missing. And I've got to have 25 in this front pocket. All of those right there, that'll treat one person on a good bleed if I'm just packing. Yeah. So it really does come down to what you have. And so how much roll do I need to go around the arm, around the Curl-X that I'm putting on to just get the blood slowed. If it's a really, really series of bad cuts, you talked about the guy getting cut in the fight. You know, how much can you have on your person, I guess, is the point. So anytime that I'm going to the range, I want to make sure that I can treat 3 people at a bare minimum, 3 people, no matter the injury, no matter what. And that all goes into one kit. And the ability to remove clothes, because you're going to need to snip, get them off. All of this is in here. The one thing that I did not talk about is keep a chest seal. Chest seal is a dressing. So here's, tons of these things in here, and then I get down into my tourniquets. But a chest seal is one of those deals. So if you get you'll know it if you get a gunshot or a stab. You're gonna hear them having a lot of trouble breathing. It's because the oxygen is having a hard time moving. Lung is filling up with fluid. You need to get that out, and you need to get them have the ability to breathe. So a chest seal is essentially a 3-sided covering that you put over the wound, and as they're breathing, the flap comes down and it closes, and as that goes out, and you'll see the flap rise on the chest seal. That's why a good stop the bleed class is important, because one of the things we go over chest seals, I didn't mention that earlier. I keep one of those in every kit, or at least 3 if I'm out on the range. Yeah, a chest seal is something you want to research as well for your kit. So when you're stacking up in your bag there, lots of trauma pad, lots of gauze, just stop the bleed stuff that you can pack, get something to wrap it, tourniquets. Tourniquets are important. You got to get them above the cut, not below the cut. You want to get them above the joint. Didn't really go over that. My apologies. But if I've got a cut down here, I really want it up here. And the reason for that is where the artery is the closest to the surface. Yeah. That's where I'm going to stop it faster. Same thing in the femoral. I'm going to get it as high up into the crotch area as possible.
And those listening, this is not a class. This is us talking about kit. This is us talking about daily carry and the safety side, the first aid and medical side, right? Because we've talked a lot about guns and knives, talked about the Bible, as we always do. We talk about carrying our cross, but we have definitely needed to get to this point, because I know that you're a lot more intentional than me. I mean, I know that everywhere that I see you got one of these bags.
I do.
So I know that you do a really good job about making this a part of your everyday carry, which I think is important. My brother got into fire EMT, and that's what he is doing even still to this day. And I remember that he very much felt like convicted, like this is what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And, we have always been into guns, knives, outdoors, that kind of stuff. And, he's been into concealed carry, all that. But he just felt convicted at one point. And he was like, I feel like God wants me to do this because I should be more ready to save a life than I am to take a life.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense.
It does.
Right? If somebody on the street gets shot, well, are you prepared to maybe go do something to help save a life?
Right.
I mean, the horrible reality of the world we're living in today is probably there would be like 50 people with their phones out videoing. Yeah. I hope that there would at least be somebody trying to help. I think that there are a good amount of people that would try to help. But I mean, the problem is look at some of the horrific examples that we have in public news. And I don't want to go into graphic detail of the things that have happened recently, but we see a lot of examples of people getting stabbed, of people being injured, and nobody helping. And even if somebody does help, it's like minutes later, not seconds, minutes later. And it's minutes of just knowing that this person is injured and not doing anything. Yeah. So I think that's a very important piece. And that's right along lines with what we have continued to say is the most important part of what we carry, which is the Word of God, carrying our cross, being who God calls us to be. Well, we need to be ready to save life. We need to be ready to save life, because if life is taken, then how is that life ever going to be reached with the gospel if they haven't already been reached, right? So that's something that we've got to be mindful of as well. Is it's not just about carrying guns and being prepared in that regard, but being prepared to do God's work, to be that saving grace, be that helping hand for somebody who's in need, and making sure that we're prepared. So with that, I'm going to be filling this bag. Yeah. I'm really glad that I know now that it's empty.
Hey, that would have been it would have been funny in its own way if you went to open it, unless it was a really bad situation. Like, dude, all joking aside, yeah, I medicked and I did a lot of stuff in that world. But here's the thing. This is not hard. And I get a little teachy when I'm showing it because, quite frankly, if I hold something up and I don't tell you how it works, then it's not, now I'm just showing you what's in the bag. You're like, oh, that's great, Mike. And now what? You really do need to play with this stuff a little bit to understand. And the hard part is it's hard to practice it unless you have an actual victim. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to, I can show you how to pack a wound, but it's very different when you have somebody writhing in pain laying in front of you that's in, or somebody like you pull up in a car crash. I had one the other day. Fortunately, no serious injuries, but dude, it was like a 40-mile-an-hour head-on right in front of me, and it was at an intersection. And it wasn't a T-bone. It was like somebody was turning left and just went right into traffic, and they just got smoked. But today's technology, metal crimping cars and all the different pieces that come together through the technology, airbags and all of that. They were shaking. They had a bruised up face, I'm sure. But I, honest to goodness, thought I was going to be getting out and watching them extricate somebody out. And I hadn't seen a really bad car crash in quite a while, but it was one of those ones. The first thing I did is I came out of the truck with my bag.
Yeah.
Walked over to the scene, looked at them, made sure they were A&O ×3. They were alert and oriented, knew where they were at. I'm looking for injuries on their body, and I'm like, there was just no injuries. But the car was folded on them, and they ended up having to cut the car open to get them out.
Wow.
No injuries, though. Very, very fortunate. So,
Man.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. And it just, and it's a horrible sound, by the way. If you've never heard two cars hitting really, really hard, man, it just stops you. And I don't care how many times you've seen it, you don't get used to it. And this poor lady in this car, she, it was her fault. She literally turned right into head-on traffic. And you go, well, I'm glad I'm sitting here. Now let's go see what we got to do. But be calm, breathe through it, because it doesn't do me any good if I'm responding, if I'm in a panic, right? So walk up, be relaxed, look at them and say, let's start evaluating this. And the most important thing I say to people, don't ever tell somebody they're going to be okay. Just say, hey, we're going to do our best to take care of you. That's a much better line than walking up and saying, you're going to be okay. Because that's the first thing we want to do is we want to calm somebody. And say, it's going to be fine. But you don't know that because you don't know what kind of injuries they have inside. And the last thing you want to do is, in my opinion, is make an empty promise on something you can't follow through on.
Wonder if that maybe comes just more from having to deal with those kinds of situations as often as you have. And maybe that's a response that you develop in that line of work.
Oh, very much so.
Because for me, like, I don't know what else I'm going to say that, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of people, it seems like, I could be wrong, but it seems like if somebody's facing a life-threatening injury, they probably want to hear something along the lines of, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. Are you maybe just telling them something that may not be the case? Maybe, but what's the alternative? You're going to die, dude.
No.
Sorry. Do you have any regrets?
That's funny. That came out horribly wrong. So no, it probably is the medic in me, but here's the reason I say it. We all have stuff, right? So I had a call in late 90s and it was a runaway, and I dealt with this family many times. And she's always come back. It's just, she was just, boundary probe, and she'd go out they lived out in the country. She'd go out in the woods and, mom, dad would freak out. And I hate to say this, but they called me direct. Hey, Sarge, come over. I'm like, it'll be fine. She's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. She wasn't fine.
Man.
And it's haunted me. So anytime I teach a class, I'm very careful to say, hey, I get that you want to say it, and I'm not saying that. Look, I'm not saying it's wrong by any measure. I don't want to end this on an awkward or weird note. But one of the things that I've learned is one of the responses is when you start saying things like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be all right, okay. One of the things we do in the Stop the Bleed is we want to calm the person, or we want to calm ourselves, or both. So if I walk up excited and I'm like, it's going to be fine. Well, what I'm really showcasing is my body language to the person that may not even be amped up, that's sitting there who's actually hurt. Or I walk up and they're freaking out and I go, it's going to be okay. we're going to do our best. We're going to work on this right now together, but I need you to look at me. We're going to make eye contact. We're going to start breathing together. Okay. And you just want to get their attention. And that's really where I was going with that, is more than if you say something that you don't know, it doesn't really matter. I don't know that it really matters. But in my world, I look at it and go, I'm going to tell them that I'm going to do the best that I can, because I want to keep encouraging them that I'm there with them. Like, I'm getting you out of the foxhole to the best of my ability. If I think of it as a dude who's going through some pretty serious trauma or some bad situations, think of it through the lens of they're not hurt physically, they're hurt emotionally and mentally. And you walk in and go, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And what I really want to do is I want to look at them and go, man, I'm really sorry you're struggling. Let's find a way to work on this together. If I walk up on a medical, hey, I see what's happening here, but you know what? We're going to work on this together. And we're going to do our best to get this taken care of right now. But I just need you to look at me and start breathing with me and get them off the focus of what they're seeing. Because if it's traumatic and they're looking at it, you got to redirect them. And that's really, really important, because it's not just what I'm carrying in my bag. It's what I'm carrying up here that I'm translating to them. And I would never walk up to somebody who's struggling emotionally and tell them it's fine. And I'm not going to do that medically either. And that's really where that comes from. It's redirecting them in the moment, and it's keeping your focus on fixing or helping and assisting, but it's taking their attention away from that thing. Because if their attention stays on it, especially if it's a lot of blood flow, their system's going to keep kicking in, and they're just going to keep reacting to it. So it's not just in the bag, it's also what you carry in your training. And that's why the Stop the Bleed classes are important, because we put a lot of emphasis on controlling the scene so that you can control the trauma.
Yeah, man. Well, with my first aid experience, I'd be doing what I can. I definitely need to work on that. I'd be doing what I can, but I'd be definitely counting on the Lord.
Well, you got a brother that can put you through a mini skills class.
Sounds like it. Yeah. He's been gracious enough to come in to be first aid administrator to many of the tournaments that we've done. So that's been cool. But yeah, man, I think that all this is very important to consider in your daily carry. You know, if you're going to carry a gun, if you're going to carry a knife, and you're prepared to be able to eliminate a threat, well, you also need to be prepared to help victims. Yeah. You know, and that also could be you. Yeah. You know, it could be that in your effort to stop the threat, maybe you caught a stray round or a stab or a cut or whatever it might be, and you got to be able to help yourself and get yourself to the treatment that you need. And all this kind of stuff that we've been talking about, stopping the bleed, knowing what to do, knowing how to stay calm, knowing how to control the scene, and figure out how to get yourself to medical treatment. Very important, right? Yeah. So for you, go to, like, if you're on scene, obviously is the thing that you're doing right away is just 911. That's it.
Yeah, make the call. You want help coming for sure. But I usually direct, if I'm pulling up on it, like the other day when I pulled up on the car crash, I had another dude jump out. I said, did you dial 911 yet? And he said, no. I said, dial 911 and tell him the intersection. He goes, where are we at? And I said, right there on the street sign. And he dialed 911 so that I could go take care of the people. Yeah. So you give somebody a directive, they'll do it, especially if they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. You definitely if you want their help, tell them what to do. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're in a situation and there's multiple people and you're able to do that. Yeah. But then if you're approaching the scene and you're going to be the one helping and there's nobody else around, you calling first and then you're helping? Is that about the...
I'm doing it simultaneously. So I'm literally taking my phone, 911. I'm probably putting it as I'm walking up to the scene. Hey, I've rolled up on a head-on collision. I'm at such and such location and there's entrapment or whatever I'm seeing. Now I'm going into my medic world, but holy crap, this is a really bad car crash. I look like I got like 5 victims. Because that's the first thing they're going to ask is how many people and where are you at? Yeah. You want to tell them that.
Makes sense. And I mean, some of this is relatively common sense, but for a lot of people that have not trained and don't have that experience, you might get so caught up on, man, I got to get over there and help, that if nobody's called 911, then medical help's not on the way yet. Yeah. So we got to kind of think about these kinds of things and make sure that in our efforts to help that, you know, it's all still done in the proper order so that, you know, they're able to really get the treatment that they need after the first aid is administered.
Yeah, we'll bring it back to jiu-jitsu, and we'll just close it out with this. I mean, who's the easiest person to tap in jiu-jitsu is going to be spazzy, right? You got somebody who's out of control, doesn't know what they're doing, and flailing. I've certainly been there trying to do it, and the guy just keeps working me. Doesn't do any good. Well, think of it the same way on the scene. You don't want spazzy. You don't want out of control. You don't want people running around. You want to be calm. You want to be relaxed. You want to breathe through. You want to be methodical. It's maybe easier said than done. I don't know. I've seen some pretty cool heroes on scene that has zero medical training They walk up and they go, what do you need me to do? And they're just a calm, cool, collected person. And you give them a directive and they'll do it.
Makes
it's
sense.
the person that's amped up on the phone running in circles. And you'll see them. They'll start moving. They'll start walking in circles while they're talking on the phone. That's the person you need to keep away from the scene. So not only are you treating somebody, you might be saying, hey, can you just move back a little bit politely? Thanks for your helping, but just move back out of the scene. We could do a whole training on this stuff. But as far as my EDC, where this comes into play, and the reason I bring all this stuff up, I carry a gun in my EDC on my trauma bag, so that if I'm out there, way back out in the backcountry, something happens, I want the ability to defend myself, worst case scenario, while I'm trying to get to help. I mean, we could just ratchet this stuff down all the way to the simplest format. My little girl, hand scrape, put a boo-boo kitty on it, and we're fine, right? It's about keeping it calm. It's about treating it. It's about doing the thing, and then we go enjoy the weekend. You got a bad trauma, as we talked about earlier, and this is where I'll just end this piece. You've got seconds to take that breath, to think about what you're going to do, and to start treating yourself or treating the next person, especially if you're out in the middle of something or you got a very, very serious bleed happening in front of you. You do not have minutes. You do not have time to I mean, you might set the phone down next to you and put it on speakerphone, dial 911 while you're treating somebody, especially if you're one-on-one. But yeah, you got to keep that thing under control. So, we've all had kids. They've all tripped and fall and cried and, oh, it hurts and this and the other. And, you'll be fine. And we tell them that, and they get up and we dust it off and, give them a hug, and they're back at it playing again. A little bit of blood comes out. It's a little bit of a different feel. A whole lot of blood comes out. It's a very different feel.
Yeah.
And that's why Stop the Bleed matters. That to me is just, if I'm going to carry anything, it's going to be, how do I stop the threat? How do I stop the bleed? And how do I comms? How do I get that information relayed to whoever I need to get it to? And outside of that, there's not a whole lot more that you need to do in an exigency other than have some kind of training to know what to do. And that's why I say go through the course.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Phones are set up to be able to dial 911 pretty easily. Yep. So that's something that definitely will come in handy in a situation like that, is knowing how that works. But it all definitely comes back to what we would say with the guns, with the knives. Just going and buying a gun, that is not the best solution. You know what the best solution is training. How are you going to use that gun? And even more than that, if you're in a situation where you can't have a gun, what are you going to do? Yep. Self-defense, jiu-jitsu, these kinds of things matter if you want to be in a position for most success, to be able to defend yourself, in order to be confident and have that ability to know wherever you're at, you got a good head on your shoulders, you got a good sense of discernment, what's going on around you, you're plugged in, you're in tune, and you know how to respond, you know how to de-escalate, as we teach in all of our classes. But it's the exact same thing with all this medical stuff. I mean, you can go buy a tourniquet, and you should, but you also should do a Stop the Bleed class. Yeah. Learn how to use it. Learn how to use this stuff. Learn when to use this stuff and how to properly apply it and all that kind of stuff. Because this podcast by no means is just this crash course where this is exactly how this stuff works. No. We're just showing you guys some ideas, really Micah more than me because he's the one with experience, some ideas of what you should be keeping on your person on a regular basis, you're part of your daily carry, to be able to save a life. Yeah. And I mean, go take some classes. Stop the Bleed class, CPR class. Go take some classes, and same thing with your firearms. Make sure that you're staying trained, staying ready, not just to eliminate the threat, but also to save life. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, every cop, firefighter, and medic would kill me if I didn't say this in my final statement. Should have opened with it, but I was kind of jamming on wanting to show what was in there. Scene safety, far and away, the most important thing. Before you even walk in, I mean, like, so if you're rolling up on something or something has happened in front of you, especially if it's, shots fired or a dangerous thing like that, don't go wading into trouble. If it's a car crash in front of you, you're going to want to help people, but make sure it's safe before you go running out into the scene, because you don't want to get hit. You don't want to get run over by another car. Yeah. So yeah, scene safety is take a breath, situational awareness, look around, kind of triangulate the scene in your mind, whatever the scene is. Know whether or not it's safe. It could be a slip and fall. You could just watch a dude go down and go, oh my gosh, that guy just busted his head on there. And you go over to hit, and all of a sudden you slip and fall. How many videos have we seen, like fail videos of person after person doing the same thing? So scene safety is absolutely tantamount. It's like being on a plane. What do they tell you? But put oxygen on yourself before you put it on somebody else. Well, do you know why? It's not just because the pressure. It's actually so that you get oxygen flowing to your brain so you can think critically before you do something else.
So it's a twofold process.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I want O2s flowing to my head before I put it on somebody else, and all of a sudden I pass out because the cabin loses pressure. So, yeah, it's just scene safety. It's be aware of your environment, your surroundings. Don't step into something that you don't know without taking a look. Take a quick peek, because your adrenaline will dump. Like, I can tell you with that car crash that happened in front of me, it stopped traffic in all directions, but it didn't stop all traffic in all directions. There were a couple people came blazing through that intersection after those two people ran into each other. And if I had just gone, run out in the middle of it, I'd have been smoked in the middle of the roadway. So, look left, look right, make sure everybody's slowed down, take that extra 5-10 seconds.
Yeah.
In that case, it definitely would have saved my life, because they came through now they were on the other side of the intersection, but they came through the intersection nonetheless. So, and they were just as shocked as I was, as I saw it happen, as they're coming through. Now they're looking at it and they've taken their eyes off the roadway, then you could have a secondary crash or something happen. So there's just,
makes sense.
There's just so much that goes into this stuff, but it all starts with breathe, look around, be it yourself, somebody else. What am I going to treat? What am I going to do? Is the scene safe? Is it okay to step in? Okay, now let's step in and let's go take care of what we got to do.
Yeah.
So
a lot of considerations, and a lot of those considerations will be made easier to deal with in the moment if you have pushed yourself into actually being prepared.
Yeah.
Actually being prepared.
Yep.
Couple training. It doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. You might not be the one even in the crowd or in the situation with the most experience, but the will to be able to help somebody is where it should really start.
Right.
Is we want to be prepared to stop the threat. Because why? Because we want to be able to help people, protect people, and then also the will to save the life if it's within our means to do so. We want to be able to go up, assess the situation, put a tourniquet on somebody if that's what it calls for, pack some gauzes into a wound if that's what it calls for, call 911, make sure people are getting the help that they need and having the best chances for survival as possible.
Right.
So definitely a very important discussion today, and probably should have came a little earlier than 41 episodes, but here we are, and I'm glad to have talked about it, and we'll keep that in mind, and then maybe we'll have another episode here sometime soon where we kind of go like a little bit full circle, the bare essentials, daily carry, guns, knives, everything. Just go have some fun.
Lay it out on the table. Be great.
Yeah. But good conversation. With that, I think that was kind of the intent of the episode. I think we covered everything. So
yeah, it's a quick one. And Stop the Bleed classes, for anybody that's interested in them, 4 hours, you're going to cover a lot, to be honest with you. I could do a pretty in-depth Stop the Bleed class in 4 hours. Don't be afraid to dig into them. Don't be afraid of what you're going to get into. There's a lot of people like, oh, I don't think I can do it. Trust me, it's way easier than you think. But it's going to be way more complicated if you're in a situation you have no training. That's what I would say. So, yeah, it's worthwhile. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yep. Thank you, sir, for your experience and the light that you've shed on the subject. Definitely you've had a lot of good things to say in this regard, and I'm excited to fill up my trauma bag here with the essentials that I need to have in there. So thanks for sharing some knowledge with us today. I think that it's probably your turn to close us out.
It's probably my turn.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, Father God, thank you for the opportunity. Just sit down, talk a little common sense, situational awareness today. Stuff that, we could all come across at any time unexpectedly. We should know what to do. Ask anybody listening out there, just take an extra minute, measure themselves, see if it's something worthwhile for them. Hope it is. Speak to their heart, know that they could save their life, their child's life, loved one, or a stranger that is dependent upon them in the moment. Give people just the wherewithal to think through it and stay calm. Look forward to our next episode as we're moving forth. Pray for Jared and his family and all that they're doing here and the great works behind the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team and Oodalali Coffee. Just be with them in their church ministry and everything that's growing through victory right now. And just to continue to bless this endeavor. It's in your son's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right.
All right.
Till next time.
Till next time.